Welcome to our weekly program, The Inside Story of Chabad in America through the Mindel Archives. Last week we mentioned that this week we're going to continue the answers of the Rebbe. There are many more answers of the Rebbe on the class in Manhattan. The Rebbe and the Frierdiker Rebbe were very interested, and they sent Rabbi Mendel there every week to get a report, and the Rebbe answered. But I will leave this for another time, because now we're in the month of Elul, and there's a lot to say in Elul, and we're before Rosh Hashanah, so Mitzvah Hashem, we'll leave it for another time. Also, I had a call last week, on Thursday, from a Talmid of mine, a student of Yeshiva of Brooklyn. I mentioned once I used to teach in Yeshiva of Brooklyn. It's a Litvische Yeshiva, but the Rebbe told me to be there. And Baruch Hashem, we had a lot of atzlocha. He is a rabbi now in a large shul here in America. And he tells me that he listens to my program regularly. So he called me and he says, since he's a rabbi in a large shul, and now it's a time of Rabbonim, rabbis, to say droshes. That's before Rosh Hashanah, and Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. So he speaks every year, but he wants to hear something, he cited this, to tell the people. He speaks every year, and he speaks, and they some of them like the drosha, some of them don't like the drosha. But he wants to hear something because, so I asked him, why are you asking me? There's so many other people that you can ask. So he says, because I mentioned a few times that whatever I say, which is true, I always say something from the Rebbe, or the Frierdiker Rebbe, or Rabbi Mindel, or my father, or some from Elter Chassidim. I don't mention anything, my own Sforis, which I mentioned once, different between a bee and a spider. So he says to me, he wants to hear if I have anything a Yisraelis. Now that shul that he has, he says, is Shomer Shabbos people, and also people that come, Rachmana litzlan, with cars on Shabbos. So he wants to be more ma'ored the people that come with the cars on Shabbos, and some of them come once a year, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So I want to share with you what I said to him. And I think this is an important, it's not mine, it's something that I heard from Rabbi Mindel, that he heard it from his father-in-law, this word, from Harav Avram Sender Nemtsov. He was an Elter Chassid, he was a Chassid of the Rebbe Rashab, he was a Chassid of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and he was a Chassid of the Rebbe. Now Rabbi Nemtsov, we have once mentioned that he's the one who got up on the table on Yud Shvat, the first Yud Shvat, and he said, Shechiyonu, Vikimonu, Vigiyonu, Lizman Hazeh, and the Rebbe should say a Maimer, and the Rebbe started to say a Maimer. He was the one that the Frierdiker Rebbe said to him, Du hast gesucht the Memes, you searched for the truth, Du hast gefunden the Memes, you found the truth, und du hast gelebt mit dem Emes, and you lived with the truth. He wasn't a PR chassid, he wasn't a politician, he was a emissar chassid. So before I tell you the word that I told my Talmid, and it's important for people to know this word, so before I want to say a story about Rabbi Avram Sender. Rabbi Avram Sender lived in Long Beach, New York, in the 50s. He passed away in 1962. He lived in Long Beach. Now, he was always Moiser Nefesh to daven Friday night, and not to be Mekabel Shabbos early. You know, many people are Mekabel Shabbos early, 7 o'clock, 7:30, and you're allowed to. So he was very, very much against that himself, and he was always looking for a minion to find to daven Friday night late, a regular time. He couldn't find a minyan because in Long Beach, every shul davened early. And there is a halacha that if every shul in a neighborhood or in a city is mekabel Shabbos early, then everyone in the city or in the neighborhood has to keep Shabbos. But he was Moshe Nefesh. He bedafke didn't want. He couldn't find a minyan. And he couldn't find a minyan because nobody wanted to daven late. So from Sunday till Friday, he was mamish calling people. People did him favors. He had a minyan, but there was mitzverikite. He couldn't. Nobody wanted to go. But he went through a Mesiras Nefesh to have a minyan later. So one person came over to him and said, Rabbi Avram Sender, you're a Chabad Chosid. Even the Alter Rebbe says in Shulchan Aruch that you can bring in Shabbos early. Why can't you? If it's easy, fine. But if it's so hard, you're going through a lot, daven early, you're allowed to. So he said to them, the halacha is that if every shul is mekabel Shabbos early, then everyone in the city has to be mekabel Shabbos early. Maybe there is a yid that is a mechal Shabbos even, and he travels on Shabbos. Here, if they will be one minyan that's going to daven late, so it won't be chil Shabbos. So I'm preventing an hour less chil Shabbos for him. This is a Rabbi Avram Sender. He was Moshe Nefesh. I just want to let you know what kind of person he was. Now let's go back to what I wanted to tell you, what I told my Talmud, the word that he said. He said like this. He asked a question, why Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, in the Machzer, when we start davening Shacharis, in the morning, Yom Hadin, we say Hamelech, and then we say, it says there, Shoichanad Morid V'Kodesh Shmoi V'Chosuv Ranu Tzadikim B'Hashem La'Yishorim Novas Hilo. Then it says, B'fi Yishorim Tisroimom. The word Yishorim, the Yud is a capital Yud. Uvesifsei Tzadikim, the Tzadik is a capital Tzadik. Uvilshoin Chasidim, the Ches is a capital Ches. Uvekerev Kedoshim is a capital Kuf. Down. That's Yitzchok. On the other side it says, B'fi Yishorim Tisreimam is a capital Reish. Uvesifse Tzadikim Tisborech is a capital Beis. Uvilshoin Chasidim Tiskadesh is a capital Kuf. Uvekerev Kedoshim Tishalol is a capital Hey. Why is it different, the Machzer, than every Shabbos? Every Shabbos and Yontif, you open a siddur, the letters are the same. But only Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it says Yitzchok and Rivka. What does Yitzchok and Rivka have to do with the beginning of davening on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? This is the question that he asked. So he said, it says in the Torah, Vayehav Yitzchok as Esav, V'Rivka Oheves as Yankiv. Yitzchok loved Esav, and Rivka loved Yankiv. What did Yitzchok do? He called over his son Esav, and he says, my son, before I die, I want to bench you, I want to give you a bracha, I want to bless you. So go prepare food, and come and I'll bench you. So Esav went to prepare food. Rivka, the mother, overheard that what Yitzchak told Esav. She went and she called over Yaakov Avinu, her other son, and she says, I heard what your father wants to bench Esav. I am going to prepare food. I want you to go and take the blessings before Esav comes. But Yaakov Avinu said, but it's not right. I mean, I'm going to be like a liar. So she said, don't worry about it. That's on me. Anyways, by the way, there is a whole discussion, which I think I'm going to speak on Pasha Teldes, between a Reform rabbi and Rabbi Mindel, 10 pages. He says that Jews are tricked, they trick because our mother Rivka tricked. And Rabbi Mindel proves it, and the Rebbe was Magia, something very interesting, but I can't do it today. Anyways, so Rivka took the beged, the clothes of Esav. Esav used to hunt, and he was a murderer. And he put those clothes when he used to kill, and she put it on Yaakov Avinu. And she says, take the food and go to my father before Esav comes. Yaakov went, and Yitzchak was blind. So Yitzchak asked him, who are you? So he says, I'm Esav. Whatever. It says in the Torah. Then it says that he vayochal, and he ate, vayesht, and he drank, vayivorachehu, and he blessed him, and he gave Yaakov Avinu the bracha of v'yitin l'chol, which we say every Mitzvah Shabbos. And by the way, somebody once asked the Rebbe, when he brings, this was a college student, this is a letter, when he brings, why does he have to drink wine and cake? Let him sit down and speak to the Olam, and then stop and speak again. Why does he have to drink wine and cake? So the Rebbe answered, it says over there that when Yitzchak benched Yaakov, it says, Vayochal, he ate, Vayesht, and he said l'chaim, he drank. The Rebbe brings it down from somewhere. Vayivorachehu, and then he benched him. Afabringen is a time of giving brachas. So when you give brachas, you have to say l'chaim. That's a Maimar HaMuzgar. Anyways, so he benched him. So the question Rabbi Avram Sender Nemtsov asked, Rivka Imenu, she was a tzaddikus. There was definitely shalom bayis between Yitzchak and Rivka. Yitzchak was blind. Yitzchak was, given in another world, he was a Oila Tamima, he was holy, he didn't know what's happening maybe in the world. But Rivka knew. Rivka was a mother. She was down to earth. She knew she has two children, Yaakov and Esav. And she knew who Esav is, and Yaakov, she could have told Yitzchak, you're my husband. I know who Esav is. Why don't you bench Yaakov? But what did she do? She didn't do it that way. She went a roundabout way, and she said, go and put on the clothes of Esav and go get the blessing. Why did she do it that way? So Rabbi Avram Sender answered, she knew that the brachas of Yitzchak is not only to Yaakov Avinu, but the brachas that Yitzchak gave to Yaakov is all the generations throughout Golus until Mashiach is the bracha of Yaakov to all Yidden. She wanted, even if a Yid wears big day Esav, the clothes of Esav, should also be blessed. So she was willing to do in such a way that every Yid is a Yid has a neshama. Whether he's a Shomer Shabbos or whether he's a Mechal Shabbos, Rahman al-Itzlan, every Yid is a child. And the bracha should come to every Yid. That's why she put on the big day Esav. Even if a Yid has big day Esav, big day Esav means he does something that Esav, Mechal Shabbos, Esav was not a Shomer Shabbos. Esav didn't eat kosher. Even if he has some kind of nitzvahs of Esav, some kind of a baggage of Esav, should also be blessed. This is how Rivka Imenu was Mesiras Nefesh. Therefore, he said, in Machzer, these Yidden that come to shul with cars, or these Yidden that come to shul once a year, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, once a year, the bracha should be also to them. That's why in the Machzer, it begins with Yitzchak and Rivka, because they were poil the brachas, that the brachas go on every single Eid, even on them. This is his answer. And this is what I told my Talmud. And this is, I think that people can speak about that word. Every Yid, if a Yid does an Aveirah, the Rebbe always said, Ein Adam Oiver Aveiro El Im Kein Nichnas Bei Ruach Shtus. A person doesn't want to do an Aveirah. Mitzad, and doesn't want. And if he does, it's like a Tinik Shenishba. So he's a Yisrael, he's a Yid, just like everybody. Yisrael is abbreviation. Yud is Yitzchak and Yaakov. Sin is Soreh. Reish is Rachel and Rivka. Aleph is Avraham. And Lamed is Leah. Every Yid has within them, if they have a Jewish mother, has within them the midos of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. And therefore, every Yid has that neshama. So therefore, when these people see that the machzer this is for them, they're not second class. They are the same as everybody else. But they're Tinish and Ishba. They didn't learn maybe, or nobody taught them. So when they will know that, they will appreciate that. And this is something that they will always remember. And that's why the Rebbe said, always, V'yohavto l'rei'acho kamoicho. L'rei'acho, not l'achavercho. L'rei'acho is ra. Even if you see a person has ra in them, like Esav, v'yohavto, you still have to love the deed. So, afal pishachoto Yisraelu, that's a Yid, that if he doesn't have it, is still Yisrael. But we also always have to remember that Yisrael shaloichoto is also a Yisrael. Sometimes we go away and we mekarev people, and which is very important. But the people that are from, we don't take care of them too much. Sometimes you see, and I saw myself, you go in something to a shul. I went once to a Chabad house. A person that walks in with a yarmulke, a little yarmulke, or without a yarmulke, everybody crowds around him. But a person walks in with a beard, the Amidav Zayin, this is not so much. It has to be Yisrael Shaloichoto is also Yisrael. And when we prepare ourselves in the month of Elul, which is Achone Melech Basode, Achone to Rosh Hashanah, so when we know that we're all united, Barcheinu Avinu, then the bracha, the Eibush, benches us when Kulanu Kiyachot, when we all know that we're all one, that we're all together. And the Eibush is helpful that we should have Aksiva Vachsima Teva, Lashona Teva Musuka. In Mitzvah Hashem, next week we'll continue our weekly program. Thank you.